Galimera, Galispera, whatever time you are watching, this is Mappa. I'm Stel. I've got Thasso here. And first of all, I'd like to thank our sponsor, the Fine Harvest. As you can see, fineharvest.co.uk. Visit their website for a collection of carefully selected fine foods from small batch artisan producers. See, I did that all in one go and I didn't even fuck up artisan. I used to say artisan. Don't know why. I don't know why.
That's a different thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. I didn't get that one wrong. But
Yeah.
there you go.
I saw on their Instagram as well. They've got halloumi in there. I saw the halloumi. That's important.
Of course. And my favorite, peanut butter. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm a peanut butter fanatic.
Don't mix those two up, though. I think it's a bit.
No. Well, actually, I've never tried it. Actually, sort of fried halloumi with peanut butter, especially chocolate peanut butter. Oh my goodness.
You're going round. All you're missing is the umami taste now. There, you stick a bit of soy sauce on it.
Yeah. How the devil are you, young man? You are in the motherland, aren't you?
Oh yes. As you can see, Yalisa Medleon gone a bit brown on the head. After 2 hours on the beach in Lemeson, it was all right.
Oh, which beach did you go to?
Now. I can't remember what the name of it is now. It's tagged on my Instagram. Follow on the Instagram, and you'll remember. Yeah. It's near Rafael. The hotel.
Okay.
There, the old marina.
Very nice.
It's on the east side of the old marina.
Yeah. Well, when I was younger, we used to go to Ladies Mile when I was a kid. Ladies Mile, which is quite by the mall. And now when I'm in Limassol, if I'm going to go to the beach, I know it's not really. Well, I guess it's kind of Limassol, but Gurion.
I love Gurion.
Yeah.
I love Gurion, yeah. But yeah, same here. Ladies Mile is the one closest to my parents' house, so we go there the most. Just try and check it all out.
There you go. Lovely.
Yeah.
Bomba.
I've got people watching on the feed as well. They might see members of my family walking past because they want to get 5 seconds of their face on the internet.
Why not? Give them their fame, man. Give them their flowers. They deserve it. Yeah,
dealing with me. Exactly.
Lovely. Right, my friend. Let's start off with Group B. Let's do what we usually do. We've got 2.5 minutes of Group B football. And here we go. Paralimni beat Olympiacos. Is that it? Yeah, Paralimni beat Olympiacos by 3-0. It looks like the survival fight is on, my friend.
Yeah. They're really going for it, aren't they? It turns out if they play their best players, a team performs at its best. Who knew?
No way.
Who knew?
No way.
Right?
No way.
It's a strange one, isn't it? Whereas, kind of on the other side of things, Olympiacos have kind of, since they've appointed the new coach, have fallen off a cliff, haven't they?
Yeah,
it's not been great for them.
No. And Garmionis got a 1-1 draw against Salamina. Poursa wasn't on the bench. We're going to find out later on why. I'll tell you guys why the great Poursa is no longer on the bench for Salamina. But a reputable draw against Garmionis. A nothing game, I'd say. But what can you say?
Yeah, I mean, that's it. In the notes, I said, this game happened, I guess. It was a fairly standard game, but you can kind of see most people weren't really caring what was going on.
Yeah, exactly. And APOEL started the first leg of their warm-up for the cup final, losing 2-0 to Inform Anorthosi. Seemed like a pretty straightforward victory for Anorthosi, mate.
Yeah. Fairly pedestrian for Anorthosi, really. APOEL, I mean, they're not at the races at the moment, are they?
No, not at all.
The manager was hired on because Janevski wasn't getting the players motivated to perform during the league once they got into the bottom group instead of the top group. And this new guy was supposed to bring them, get them motivated, get them performing, and it doesn't seem to be happening for him either at the moment.
Do you think they've got one eye on the cup final, though?
Oh yeah, they of course have that one eye on their cup final, but you'd think they'd have some pride in, getting some performances in, and some of those players really aren't doing it for them. I don't think.
Yeah, but there's something that
Yeah.
you noticed, isn't there?
Yeah.
Let's
So,
bring it
so
up,
the
shall we?
so the IL fans, the ultras said that they're going to create a party atmosphere in these two games before the cup final, and they unfurled a banner beneath them. Because the ultras are called Gate 3,
Yep.
not as they've put on the banner, Ga 3 to. I
Well,
mean,
I can see
I
what
don't
they were
understand.
trying to do.
The E is right there. They could just put
Exactly. Yeah.
3 with the E. It's right there. Instead,
uh,
I mean, if you read it like a Gibro as well, it actually says Gazde.
that's there.
So,
It could be a Russian sponsor. You never know.
yeah, maybe.
Blimey.
Oh dear.
Well, listen,
Yeah.
you've got to give them their props for trying. Do you know what I mean? It's okay. It's a little bit tack. I'm not going to lie to you, but look, we're not linguists, and to be fair, my Greek is probably worse than their English, so
Yeah,
I
it's
can't
just
criticize. But
they paid for the banner. Somebody must have said something to them before they
you'd
before
have
they got
thought.
the banner made.
You'd have thought, but till the end. That's all. Till the end.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
Anyway, they're lost fun, right? Okay, so I know this got to win against APOEL, as we quite rightly said. Is it showing again? No, it's not. Doxa losing 3-1 to Agrida. My goodness.
Yeah,
My goodness. Talk me through
yeah.
it, because it
I
was
mean,
wow.
this is the game that kind of throws everything open, doesn't it? I don't know. Agridas were dead and buried, buried. What 3 weeks ago?
Yep.
And obviously they've been performing well as of Baralimni, and Doxa's form's dropped off a cliff all of a sudden, which
Yep.
means now that Baralimni, Agrida's still got a lot of work to do, but Baralimni are only 1 point off Doxa now,
That's
so
right.
it's very,
Yep.
very interesting.
Yeah,
Um,
mate. I'll tell you what. I obviously you can point to Sadiq's penalty miss
mhm.
for Doxa being the major turning point, but Eraso's goals, the second one
Yeah.
especially. Did you hear the commentator? Obviously not in this
No.
video, but mate, it
Yeah.
was this is the same guy that did the commentary for the Sadiq goal. I love this commentator. I need to know who he is, because he gets very, very excited, and
Yeah,
good on him. But
because
yeah,
yeah, because normally the commentators in Cyprus are like, and that's a goal for.
yeah.
Yeah, we need a bit more energy, a bit more. I don't want to say a bit more Neville-ness, but
Yeah.
you need that
Yes.
sometimes,
Well, mate, obviously we touched on the relegation dogfight. I think we can safely
Yeah,
say that Olympiacos and Agrida are probably going to be the ones going down. But that
yeah,
third spot where you've got Doxa and Paralimni fighting for, it's got to be squeaky bum time for Doxa, because their last three fixtures are Olympiacos, Salamina, and APOEL. Now you could say APOEL, win or lose the cup, they won't have anything to play for. Olympiacos, maybe they think there's a glimmer of hope. Salamina, managerless, doing okay. But then Salamina also face Paralimni. Paralimni then face APOEL on Saturday, which obviously is the final game before the cup final. And then Anorthosi, final game. I think
Paralimni. Yeah,
if Paralimni weren't facing Anorthosi on the final game, I'd have given them maybe a 55% chance of staying up. Now it's gone down substantially for me.
yeah. The way Anorthosis are playing at the moment, so those players are playing for a
For
job,
the contracts?
basically.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those players are playing for a job at the moment, which I don't understand why some of the other larger teams aren't getting those same performances out of their players that should be on the chopping block.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a weird one, but Anorthosis, Anorthosis's got the manager's got them playing, whereas a team like APOEL again not performing very well. Those two games those two games could be very different depending on the result of the cup final for the team that's playing against APOEL, because you're either going to have the team that APOEL is preparing for the cup final. So are you going to play your best 11, or are you going to rest quite a lot of those players? Are you going to try out some tactics, try something different? Whereas after the cup final, if I'll end up winning the game, they'll be just like, whatever. We've won the cup now. What's going on? Whereas if they lose that, then you'd think they'd be at least like, okay, let's finish the season with a win. Give something to the fans. But
absolutely.
I think it all depends on how I'll behave or misbehave in their games.
Yeah. Well, mate, I don't know if you've seen the latest story. Obviously, we knew about this before it was, I won't say official, but the departure of Poursa at Salamina. They've made an announcement tonight, and they've basically said, well, he's gone. We asked him if he could cancel his agreement with us before the scheduled date, which I'm guessing is the end of the season. So they've ended his contract 2 or 3 games early. They thanked him for his time at the club, for getting them promoted, obviously for the good season, yada yada yada. Now, to you and I, it's come as a surprise that he's left now, but it hasn't come as a surprise that he's actually left the club, because we know, when we've been saying all season, he's been absolutely fantastic for them. So what is your take on his departure being so soon, albeit with 3 games to go? And what do you think is next for him?
So, we could talk about why the contract wasn't signed as well. Maybe that might help.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
So apparently kind of almost everything was agreed to up to even like the breakaway fees, the cancellation fees for the contract. So they both agreed that whoever cancels the contract has to pay the other party €40,000. Now, the stumbling block between the two, though, is a sub-clause which required that 40k to be paid within 30 days. Now, obviously, Nea Salamina, with the budget and the finances that they have, trying to find 40k at an emergency in 30 days would be very, very difficult for them to get hold of. So they wouldn't be able to agree to that specific clause in the contract. And both sides, or his representatives, decided that the contract was no-go. Now, if the contract is no-go, then you've got no motivation to get the players, up for those last 2-3 games, because I'm on my way. Do whatever you want. And the players as well, there's a psychological effect as well. If the players know that the manager is going to leave at the end of the season, regardless of performance, then psychologically that has, whether you want it to or not, I think it does have an effect on your performance. I think we saw it. I'm trying to remember which Premier League team had the same thing happen to them last season. It happened last season. I can't remember who it was, but anyway, there's a psychological effect that happens whether you mean it or not, and I think both parties decided that it's probably best for him to not carry on if he's not going to be there next season. It does also free him up to talk to people now rather than at the end of the season.
Of course, and we've had a rough idea who we expect him to join next season, but we're not going to go into that. But I just want to talk about this coach a bit more, because we call it Poursa ball, the style of play that they've been playing this season. And yes, they've conceded some very silly goals, and defensively they've been all over the place recently. But when you see the 2 central defenders getting the score sheet, Adoni has been fantastic for them this season. The signing of Chico Banza, brilliant. Dora Garay, has reinvented himself at the club. Flori Dolmes has been scoring goals. Botiak, and let's not forget, this is the coach that left APOEL under a cloud, having started the season pretty poorly. I remember they lost 4-0 against Buffalo at the beginning of last season, and he was kicked out the door. And it was a little bit unfair, in my opinion, because the signings that were made weren't his signings, so to speak. They weren't players that he wanted, and that's what he even said in a statement. So he ended up at Salamina, got them promoted, which is a difficult league, that second division in Cyprus, especially when you're on a shoestring budget. And this season, he's beaten Omonia twice, home and away. He's beaten, I think they beat APOEL, I think, away from home. They beat Buffalo away from home, 2-1. And they also walloped AEK 4-0 in the cup. And this is AEK that, only West Ham have really given them a thumping this season. So I think...
And Buffalo.
And Buffalo, yeah, sorry.
What I would say is it was the AEK before the form drop-off.
Yeah.
So it was the AEK that were kind of destroying the league at the time. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think he did a fantastic job. And unfortunately, as you know, in Cyprus, reputations usually go down the toilet. But I think he's got enough credit in the bank, having achieved so many brilliant things at Salamina. I'm a Poursa fan. It's obvious, but I just like the variation he has in his tactics. He's not afraid to go 3 at the back. He's not afraid to go 4 at the back. He's not afraid to go 3 up front. And I think he's a very progressive coach, and he's a very, very underrated coach. Now, for me, I think he's worth a bigger club, and I think he's worth a bigger club than in Cyprus. I think he can go back to Greece and do a very good job at a club there. But again, that's just my opinion. I don't know.
No, I agree. I agree with you completely. He seems to be a very good coach. We saw Nea Salamina kind of. I think it's only the last 2-3 games of the first phase where they ended up taking, kind of falling away. But before that, they were on very good form. Like I said, they've been performing very well. They've still been performing very well, even though they don't have as much of a position or factor kind of motivation to keep them going. Well, you've seen the teams like Anorthosis or AEL or Garmiodisa, where their form's kind of gone up and down as they've tried to kind of deal with being in the second group and not really being affected by the relegation battle. Whereas Salamina seemed to have been quite steady. So even kind of on the psychological side of things, he managed to keep the team very, very level-headed, and that I think has been very important.
Absolutely, mate. Well, I wish him the best. Because I said, I really rate him, and I think he's a far more progressive coach than people understand and believe. But anyway, let's move on. We've done Group B. Let's go on to Group A, the business end. And where shall we begin with this one? There, let's do it. Let's just do this. Omonia beating Buffalo by a goal to 0. The commentator at full time said the team that didn't need the points got the points. And let's get it right. Fabiano, for me, has proved that he's the best goalkeeper in the league. This game, he was absolutely sensational. But he's been doing this for as long as I can remember. He's been a superb goalkeeper. He deserves a statue. He's been brilliant. And look, on another day, Buffalo would have got the points had there been another goalkeeper. But speaking of goalkeepers, Buffalo's goalkeeper, they spent £2 million on this guy. And they could have spent another $4 million on goalkeepers, because there's no chance he would have saved Jan Lesiak's goal, the winner, which we're going to see in just a moment. Shall we wait and see Lesiak's goal before we actually discuss the game, or do you want to talk and then wait till the goal pops up and we'll just admire the...
just drag that sentence on until the goal comes. They speak in a very, very, very slow tone just until it pops up.
Yes.
No,
slow motion.
I'll just bring up very quickly. Like this week, my predictions on Twitter were quite accurate, except for this result. No, but Bathos did me dirty, man. They should have. Again, these are the ones that should have had the motivation to go out there and win the game. And
Bosh, pick that out. I mean, we've been
what
talking
do you
about.
do? What do you do?
You just you could have had 2 or 3 £2 million goalkeepers in there. They would not have stopped that. And the thing is, I love that little shuffle of the feet before you hit the ball. But mate, I'll tell you what, you scored a banger against Anorthosis last season, but this one, my God, first of all, what is a left back doing hitting the ball so cleanly like that? But mate, I've watched that goal about 30 times, and I'm still lost for words, honestly.
Yeah, it's a really good goal, and even more, kind of like it's from it's from Lesiak's, and as you know, as people from the No This podcast know, and on my Twitter account, basically everywhere, I've been shitting on this guy kind of almost as much as I've been doing on Aris, because he's had a poor season by his standards. But if he's starting to pick up his form now, then doing things like that shot, for instance, if he ends up bringing that into the cup final, then Omonia, I've got it in the bag.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, that's 2 games in the bounce. He's been really good, really good, and it seems that Omonia's players are now hitting form at the right time. This isn't the time where you want players to be dropping 4 out of 10 performances. I think defensively we were good, and as I mentioned on the No This podcast, when Sofroni brought on Lang to have a third centre back, we looked a lot more sturdy defensively, and yeah, I'm very pleased with the result. But in terms of Buffalo, mate, they can't win the league now. There was an article on, I think it was 24 Sports, where they said that Bruno has gone 15 games without a goal.
Or an assist.
Or an assist, yeah. Now, what does this mean? Not for him, but what does it mean for Buffalo next season? We obviously know they're going to be spending in the summer. I don't think Salgado is going to be there. I think they'll bring in a new guy.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was going to say there was some rumors that appeared like an hour or two ago as we're recording this, that the Dubov has personally approached Getspaya and offered him an eye-watering amount to jump ship from the national team and to go to.
But hold on, we heard about this rumor when was it? It was before Berg got sacked. We heard that there were some. There were some murmurs that Ketspire has been earmarked to be the next Buffalo head coach, but they might as well just bring back Milanic, which is the same thing.
Well, listen. I'm not going to go. All I'm saying is that's what's being reported. Now, for some reason, Dubov seems to think that the wage packet that's being proposed at the moment is something that's going to take its buyer away from the national team. And that seemed to be the problem from the previous approach, from what's being said at the moment. So, let's put it this way, right? If Getspire gets the job, does Bruno still get into that team?
That's a good question. That's a very good question, because looking at the way Ketspire used Varda, I think Bruno does get in the team. Then again, Varda did a lot of donkey work as well, tracking back, fighting. I don't see that with Bruno Felipe. So maybe he might utilize him as a number 10. Look, this doesn't make any sense to me at all. It really doesn't, honestly. And this isn't a slight on Ketspire. I'm just saying it makes absolutely zero sense. And look, you're quite right. Here it is. Here's the article on 24 Sport. Buffalo again, Timor Ketspire. So it obviously talks about the link. He's got he signed his contract with the national team June 2022. I don't know. I really don't know how this would be any kind of step forward for what they got now.
Yeah, no, I don't think. If dark horse. Maybe they go for Poursa. That would be an
That would be a
interesting one,
better
wouldn't it?
bet.
No.
Yeah, that'll be a better bet for sure. For
Yeah,
sure.
be a really interesting one, I think. But I don't think Gets By is the solution. I think.
What's the question?
Well, yeah.
If Gets By is the solution, what's the question?
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think, yeah, it's definitely a weird one. Especially since the issue that they have as well by far at the moment now is they've lost Gyro
Yep.
to injury. And this was the game to kind of prove, like, okay, we're more than Gyro, and they kind of proved in that game that if he's not on the pitch, they've got a lot of difficulties. Because it's not just the finishing with him though, is it? Because he does a lot of hard work, pressure. He does a lot of setting up and assists. He does quite a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
And when you don't have that up front, when you're used to having that up front, it's a bit difficult. Because I think in the game against Omonia, they started with Abdurrahimi up front, didn't they?
That's right. Yeah.
And he's not an out and out striker.
No.
At least normally. So they might as well try somebody like the is it Lisandro, the under-19 kid.
Well, hold on. They signed
scoring loads.
They signed
well.
Betancourt.
Yeah.
Right. They made the big fuss about him because they signed him officially in January, and he was training with the club prior to that. He hardly gets a sniff. I think he came on for 20 minutes against Omonia at the weekend. So again, like, is this a loss of faith in the striker?
I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
The thing is, obviously Juninho was suspended after getting sent off against APOEL. So they played Banayodo at left back. Dimitriou at left back.
Yeah.
Dimitriou. He's right-footed. Okay. Loizo had him on toast for most of the game, to the point where the lad went off with a hammy. Yeah. Whoever comes into this Buffalo system as a head coach, the most important thing that they need to do is go back to basics, I believe, anyway. Because at the beginning of the season, we were talking about how well they were doing defensively, but there was a problem with the goalkeeper. Now, to Ivosic's credit, he could do nothing about Lesiak's goal. Nothing. Yeah. But he's dropped a couple clangers in recent weeks. He's got Pirich syndrome.
Yep.
Right. There was the goal against APOEL, which he should have saved, in my opinion.
Yep.
There was the goal that he gave away against Omonia, the 2-0.
Mm-hmm.
We gave the ball straight to, was it Gusso, I think, and Bessedin scored from 25 yards. Even the goal that Kasama scored, the deflection, you could argue if he got his feet right, he'd have saved it. So what happens next? Do they focus on shoring up the back line, or do they just go full frontal attack and rely on Jairo to get them the goals? Because as you quite rightly said, Jairo has more to him than just goals. I remember speaking to one coach who's in Cyprus up until recently. He said, Jairo is a bastard. And not in a bad way. It's just that he is so physical. He drags defenders out of position. He's a nuisance. Mm-hmm. And that obviously enables his teammates to get more involved in the game. But then I look at Abdurrahimi up front. He's not going to do that job. Bruno certainly ain't going to fucking do that job. Tankovic was their best player, albeit he missed a hat. He could have had a hat trick had it not been for Fabi. So Buffalo are going to have to go back to basics. And to be honest, mate, and I'm sorry for banging on for too long, but it seems to me that there's going to be a major clear out at that club in the summer. It's almost as if they're going to be starting from scratch.
I would expect so. I think it's the. I think I keep going back to them getting rid of Semedo. Whatever he was doing with the team, as soon as he left, there was a gap, and that gap hasn't been filled. And the more that gap continues to be there, the more it's widening.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. Totally.
And I didn't, obviously I talked about Semedo finishing, not great, but his assists, his wing play, quite a lot of that. Quite a lot of the work that he did setting up goals and key passes and the rest of it. It was very important for them.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know why that's affected them defensively as well, but something's happened there.
It could be a system thing, because if you remember with Berg, they always had Nam and Gane in the middle. They very rarely had Dragomir there, but if they had to, they put him there. But Semedo is a very direct forward. He's gangly, he's awkward, but he's very direct. Bruno, this is the same Bruno Ammonia. There's no difference. Okay, apart from the goals, but he has the same party trick. He'll take the ball in the final third. He'll try and beat the man. He'll try a bit of skill. He won't go into the box. He won't try to deliver a cross. He fucks up too much. He fucks about too much, if that makes sense. Instead of being direct like Semedo and just getting the ball in the box as soon as you can, he wants to take an extra touch. He wants to cut inside. He wants to play it backwards. He wants to find the central midfielder. Just get it in the box. And it's no surprise that Zyro has been working double hard, because it's almost as if he has to create his own opportunities. If Tankovic isn't playing or Valakari isn't playing, where's the supply?
Well, yeah, I mean that's probably a reason why his goals have dried up since then as well. Because, we keep talking about him being top goal scorers, scoring 18 goals this season, but how many of the have been since January?
There you go. That's something for our listeners to do a research for.
Yeah. I don't have it in front of me now. I'm not going to bother.
No. Anyway, one more thing. What obviously it means nothing for Omonia in terms of the league, because we're obviously going to finish 6th. But I think that is a massive shot in the arm going into the cup final. I know we've got Aris at the weekend, and I don't expect us to play a full strength squad. I don't expect us to win that game. I fully expect us to bend over backwards and let Aris beat us, because obviously it prevents APOEL, or let's just say it not prevents APOEL, but it adds a spanner in the works for them to win the title. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But in terms of the confidence, in terms of everything in general, as a setup for the cup final, what do you think this result does? And the performance, obviously.
Well, Sofroni motivation is a factor. So obviously getting a result like this against Bafo as well.
Passion.
Well, yeah. Not only that is they got a result.
I'm joking.
Not only but not only that is one of the players that people were kind of dragging them on as well. Like, why'd you get rid of him? Kind of proving that in front of him as well. Probably Sofroni probably geared them up even more for that. Like, you know what? Show him why he messed up wanting to leave. So, so psychologically, coming into better performances, I think they'd be favourites now. Before you'd probably look at kind of how the season was coming to an end for them. It was kind of like plodding along and like not really, there wasn't really anything to play for in the league. Whereas now, even still, there isn't anything to play for in the league. They've got a fire in them at the moment. Something which AL are finding very hard for themselves to do.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I think it's Omonia's to lose right now.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's a one-off cup final, so cliche here, anything can happen.
Form goes out the window.
Form goes out the window. That's the one. Right. Speaking of form, Apollon were in good form going into the game against Aris after beating Omonia 2-1, coming from a goal down to win 2-1. But hey, they faced Aris, and Aris, well, they were out the traps like a, I don't know, greyhound, I guess. They were flying. 4 minutes.
Oh, there you go, flying.
Yeah. They did it for me. They gave me the pun straight away. Crikey. Yeah. So 2-0 after what, 10 minutes, 7 minutes, 8 minutes. And effectively, I'd say that was it. Apollon had absolutely nothing. I watched that game along with the APOEL game. I had one on the laptop and one of them on the telly. And I didn't see anything about Apollon. Maybe I think they put up a fight in the last 10, 15 minutes. But Aris were just They were explosive on the counter attack. They were clinical in front of goal. In fact, they had 2 goals disallowed, which obviously we're going to discuss. So yeah, I'll give you the floor now, mate.
No. I mean, they really kicked the ball on ass. Really, there isn't, especially in the first half. This game could have finished 5 or 6-0. Just
what a ball.
It was kind of, especially in the first half, it was attack after attack after attack after attack. It just kept happening. That kind of that Aris style of play where they just overload you all the time, and kind of Apollon fell at the first hurdle. I think I don't want to give Jovanovic and other players excuses, but if you look at the behind the goal line in the away end where all the Apollon fans were sat, I'm pretty sure there's no toilet roll left in the away end toilets. There.
Well, maybe all of those toilet rolls are lobbed on the pitch are just left over from COVID. When we were fighting for loo roll, and all the Apollon fans just had a shit ton of loo roll. I'm not going with this.
Oh, there you go. Try and build a mountain of it on our side of the pitch. It kind of, when I was watching the game as well, you kind of see Jovanovic, like he kept trying to pick it out of his boots a lot.
Yeah.
Which I think had an effect on things. So is this the offside?
Yes.
Yeah. How is this offside? There's only one line.
Well,
there's only one line.
I think the offside was given for the man in between the 2 central defenders.
Okay, so my question is how is he affecting play?
He isn't. And this is the thing. Once again, the offside rule it's baffling. Because look, we saw it in the Premier League with Marcus Rashford's goal against Manchester City. And that was as blatant as offside as I've seen for a long time. This, however, I don't know why it was given.
Here's the other thing, right? You talk about it maybe being the other guy, but if you have a look where the red line is drawn down from, is it who is that?
Is it Gomis?
It's Gomis. Right. Yeah, so it's off Gomis. It's not off the.
Yeah, but he's not off.
Play between the 2 defenders.
He's not off.
No,
he's not off. Well, in my opinion, he's not off. But I don't know. Look, it is what it is. It didn't affect the game.
No.
Aris were just too good, man. And the thing is, they could have had more. It was an onslaught. It really was an onslaught. But the thing is, what I will say about Aris, and it's something that I noticed in the last few weeks, they start the game so aggressive because, as you know, in Cyprus, the first 5-10 minutes of matches aren't frenetic. They aren't really end to end. It's more like both teams, like a boxing match. First round, if you get a few jabs in, try and land a shot, but it's feeling each other out kind of thing. Aris, they start off 100 miles an hour, and I see what they're trying to do. They just want to obliterate a team in the first half an hour, get as many goals as you can, and then just soak up pressure afterwards. And for me, when you got players like Gomis, Mayambella, Bambika with the pace, Gogorin, who, he's been a little bit off the pace lately, but he's still a vital cog. They just destroy everyone in their path. And this is a team that's fully focused, man. They're not in awe of the occasion. Now, this goal was disallowed for a foul on Varda. And I think you believe that it was a foul on Varda.
Yeah, I think it's a foul, but they should have brought it back a lot quicker. The fact that they let play go on for so long, I think, is what that should have been like, they need to call that back. You watch it back 2 or 3 times. By the time that Aris ended up scoring the goal that was disallowed, you could have watched that. You could have watched that happen with Waris, and I can't remember. Was it Bileas who had tackled him?
No, Bankson.
Was it Bengtson? Yeah, sorry.
No, Brawson. Sorry,
we're gonna go through all the white players in this team, man.
Yeah.
Mention Brown in there as well. Mention Morgan as well, so he's not left out.
Chuck him in.
Yeah. But yeah. You can see it's a foul because Wardo gets his shirt pulled back as Bengtson's Brawson is down.
Awesome.
So Brawson's gone down, and he pulls Wardo down with him. So it is a free kick.
Do you know what? I'm going to disagree with you.
You're going to disagree
with you. Yeah,
Oh,
I
no,
think this is, you know when they say this is 6 and 1, half dozen of the other.
Yeah.
Right. I can see why it was given, but if you look at Varda, he's also got a handful of his shirt as well. Look at his left arm. His elbow is bent, so he's holding on to play. In fact, look at his right hand is round the back of the player, and obviously they're holding on to each other.
Yeah, but it's that it's that end one.
Yeah.
See, if Brawson had just gone down and just let it go, then that's a goal. But it's a bit of the frustration coming in from Warda being on top of him in that phase of play.
I don't know anyone that would want Varda on top of him, to be honest.
I'm walking away. Oh, I'm getting further and further away from that.
All right, Craig David. All right, Craig. Come back now.
Yeah, but yeah, it's. I think if he doesn't let go, if he doesn't grab hold right at the end there, then there's no foul. But it's just that last, no, come down with me kind of thing.
Yeah.
That I think it's been that catches him out.
There you go. Okay, on to the final game. And would you, Adam and Eve, APOEL have finally won a game in the playoffs. It's not too little too late. They still have a chance of winning the title. There's 2 games to go. They came from a goal down to beat AEK 2-1. Now, this isn't me being salty. AEK had a bag of injuries in this game, but they opened the scoring with a wonderful goal.
Really
Top bins, goal. Mate. You don't stop that. But APOEL came back. They got a penalty, which originally it was saved. And the referee said you need to retake it because of encroachment. Marquinhos stepped up. It was Kvillitai who missed the first one. Marquinhos made it 1-1. And Diwali scored a goal from a set piece. And we could say, once again, Pirich syndrome returns, beating at his near post. But to be fair, mate, I'm not going to lie, APOEL deserved the victory. Second half, they defended very, very well. Got bodies behind the ball, made it very frustrating for AEK, limited them to half chances, quite literally. And that's the win that they wanted.
Yeah, but I mean, pretty much this was a must win for them. There's a very weak penalty from Kvillitai. Yeah, Pirich, does very well to save the original penalty here. I just wanted to pick this up. So the only reason it's encroachment is because the defender carries on running. But the thing is, if he just let Pirich get to that second ball, there's no encroachment.
Yeah.
But yeah, So going back to your statement, yeah, they needed this win. They badly needed it, not just obviously to keep up with the title, but just to get a win. That the form they've been in up until this point has been something dreadful. It's if you think about how long the playoffs have been going on, and this is the first win they've had in the playoffs. It's unbelievable for the team. The fact that they're still within a shout of getting to the title, even with the form they've been in, is testament to the kind of form they were in earlier in the season, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it made a hell of a difference playing in Donggala, I'll tell you that. And I think we called it a couple of weeks ago how important this guy could be for him. And he gave AEK all sorts of problems down that right-hand side. But it's going to be a very, very, I'm not going to use the word interesting for next weekend because we always say it's going to be interesting, but I think it'll be very, I'm trying to use a different word to describe it. And the word isn't in my head right now. I know what I'm trying to say, but it's just not coming out. Put it this way, I think Techi best describes how I think this weekend is going to be, because obviously Apollon are facing APOEL. It's going to be one of those games where, you know, Apollon have done pretty well against APOEL this season. And obviously Omonia going to Aris. I don't expect Omonia to win, but how do you think the game against Apollon is going to go for APOEL at the weekend?
It's good. Is the word you're looking for enthralling?
I'd rather say Techi, because I think there's going to be fireworks.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting one. I'll tell you that. Because
Cheers.
what? Yeah, you didn't want to use the word interesting. I know, but I'll use it instead. No, yeah, you know, there's no love lost between the two teams either. And it's I don't want to be the one to say, you know, there's normally a bit of issues on the A1 before the away fans get to the stadium when it was at the Tirio. So we'll see what happens. Just to let everybody know as well, I'm going to be seeing this live, so it's going to be an event for me. I'm gonna try and report back what happens.
Yeah, do a video diary for us. Do a video diary.
I'm gonna try. I'll tell you that. But yeah, going back to kind of the, you know, playing Dongala. The other thing that happened as well is obviously for APOEL, Ben got a massive injury in like the 14th minute, but somewhere near the Ajax goal as well. Like a big injury. It's his Achilles heel tendon.
He's ruptured it, yeah.
Yeah, so he's going to have to go in for an operation for that. So he's going to be out for.
Well, I'm thinking probably 7 months minimum.
Well, I mean, his his experience, a 7-month break would normally mean an end to a career, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, how old is he now? 33, 34?
I will look that. I am looking this up live, everybody.
He's 33.
Yeah.
In fact, he turns 34 in June.
Yeah. So, you know, players do come back from that injury, but it's the kind of injury that can also retire a player. So,
exactly.
It's yeah.
It is sad for the guy, to be honest, because he joined APOEL with such a big reputation. He was banging goals in Serbia, very well loved by the Red Star Bell, great supporters. They were gutted to see him leave. Obviously, you know, your time is up, so to speak, to change the cycles. And he hasn't done much apart from that wonder goal against Apollon.
Yeah, he started very well. So it wasn't just the free kick. There was like 2 or 3 very good appearances at the start.
He scored against Paralimni, if I'm not mistaken. It was against Paralimni. The 2-1 when Makeda scored the first with a header, and then I think Dalcio set him up for the second.
I can't remember. But the first 2 or 3 games performed very, very well. Then Ramadan started, which obviously has an effect on a player's performance, especially since you know, a lot of the games in Gibro, you know, kind of start before sundown as well. So can have a very negative effect on a player's stamina and performance. And it just hasn't been the same since, whether it's down to some underlying fitness issue, injury, and he's been playing through injuries and whatnot. And then obviously again aggravated, which we keep going back to this. Something's going on at Archangelos, whatever's going on, because the operation that he's going to have is the 5th surgical intervention that they've had to do for this season.
That's concerning. It's very concerning.
It is concerning, you know.
But we've touched on this before. In fact, we spoke at great length about the amount of injuries that they've had, and perhaps it's about impact. Perhaps it's about the amount of training, the type of training. these things clearly need to be reevaluated for next season, because not only due to the injuries, but there's something that you pointed out in the notes, something that Crespo said on his Instagram account.
Yep.
Which, on the one hand, you could say, oh, it's just, a bit petty kind of thing. But at the same time, you can understand why he's saying these things. I'll leave this with you, mate.
Oh, you want me to read it out?
Well, you can, or if you can just
I'll read it out, because I'm a sarcastic bastard normally anyway. So let's go for it. So Crespo, he posted this on Instagram. I wanted to especially thank the Cyprus FA official page for organising the tournaments that, even without stopping for the World Cup, we are going to finish the league on May 28th, taking into consideration that last year the pre-season began on June the 15th, and this will be no different for at least 4 teams in Cyprus. For the European competitions and their qualifying phases. So thank you very much. To be competing for 11.5 months is something that the players appreciate from the heart. With so much rest, I'm sure that next year will be very beneficial for injuries. I hope you continue to have always taken into consideration the health and well-being of the players, that although we aren't an important part of football, you make us feel very important. I know that it will be difficult for you to enjoy during the 2 months of holidays in July and August, as we will do in 2 weeks, but I hope you enjoy and rest enough for next year to carry out such important work as this year. Thank you so much. PD, I don't want to say nothing about other countries stopping for the World Cup, having the same teams, same system, and finishing 2 weeks before. They are crazy. Loco.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's probably the longest sarcastic piece of literature I've ever read, in all fairness.
Man, he's dived into the Cypriot system, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, Shakespeare is ready to make a comeback.
Oh man,
but I can see his point though.
Yeah,
and I think this is a conversation that can go on forever about. But let's, for the sake of content, let's quickly discuss this, because many nations put their seasons on hold as a result of the World Cup. I get it, but that was a whole month, right? Yep. Now, if they did delay the Brathlima for a month, look at the problems that we're having now in terms of, for example, the cup final having to be moved from the end of May, or the beginning of June, shall I say, to the end of May, because players' contracts run out on the 31st of May. Now, on the one hand, I agree with Crespo, because, they should have put a halt to it. But at the same time, where would they have fit the matches? Now, they had a week off over Easter for some strange reason. They didn't really have much of a Christmas break. They did have a bit of a break, but nothing much. So where would they have put all of these games? How would they have sandwiched them in? Because either way, you're still going to hear players saying, well, we play too many games, because they'd have to put them in midweek. Don't get me wrong. While it's only a month and it's only 4 games, still 4 games that they need to sandwich in before the end of the season. So what would you think would be the solution?
See, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because the climate in Cyprus doesn't allow to really have games earlier in August. Now, they already started the season a little bit early, I think, as well, because they played games on the 22nd, didn't they?
Yep.
Yeah, so it's already, the temperature is really, really high, especially Lefkosia. It's not unheard of for it to get to 40 in Lefkosia in August. So you can't really move those games earlier into the summer, because it's going to be a health issue. It's going to be a health hazard for those players. They actually, when the temperature gets that high, they tell people to stay indoors, put the air conditioning on, don't go. I mean, that's why a lot of these teams, a lot of the Cypriot teams, do pre-season in the summer in places like Poland and Lithuania and Latvia, Estonia, because those places have got cooler temperatures in the summer, which are better for, especially the fitness kind of training that they need to do in pre-season. Imagine doing that in the middle of August.
No chance.
You'll murder the players before the season starts. So there's no gap there. The cup is kind of reduced to the minimum amount of games possible. I mean, if you think about it, there's a first round, a second round, and then quarterfinals, semi-final. The semi is 2 games, so that's 6 games. So there's not that many. And I think the European teams, the teams that are in Europe, don't go into the cup until the second round as well. So, so those teams are only playing 5 games if they get to the final to win it. Now, for me, the solution is you reduce the number of games, and we're going back to this conversation again, aren't we? Do you go to a one phase 16 team league, and that way you get 30 games a season? Or do you go to like a 12 team league where you've got, what's that? There's 11, 22, 32 games per season. Now, I'm more of a proponent of still having the playoffs because, I mean, look what's happening at the top of the table and at the bottom of the table to some extent. But the top of the table is insane. There's derbies every week, every match day. There's 3 important games on, regardless of who's playing them, based off of where they're going to position themselves. Now, if you have a 16-team league, you're going to have more games that are like Nea Salamina versus Gambiodissa, for instance. Now, no disrespect to those 2 teams, but if you're coming to the end of the season, there's 2 or 3 games left of the season, and one team's in 10th and the other's in 11th. How many people are going to go to that game?
Exactly. And the thing is, if you look at the fixture list, if we look at, say, for example, APOEL's fixture list, they're practically playing a game every 6 or 7 days, practically. If I remember right, here we go, I've got it in front of me. They had a gap 4th of November to the 13th of November. So that was what, 9 days? Could they fit a game in there? Possibly.
Wasn't that internationals?
Yeah, exactly. There you go. So what do? I mean, the World Cup started on the 20th of November and it ended on the 18th of December. During that time, APOEL had Nea Salamina, Bafo, and Anorthosi. And then Aris was on the 22nd of December. So effectively 5 games during the World Cup, or just before it ended. I should say, yeah, just after it ended, sorry. But where can you fit in these games? Because look, January the 3rd, they played. January the 8th, they played. The 14th of Jan, 22nd of Jan, 28th of Jan. So they played 5 matches in January, right? February, 3rd, 11th, 19th, 25th. Then it was March the 6th. Then the next game was the playoff Omonia. So there was a gap of like 5 days. So when could they have fit all these games in? So as I said, on the one hand, I agree with Crespo that there are lots of games being played. As we've seen in Group B, it's just a preposterous amount of games.
Yeah.
But at the same time, where could they have fit it in? Because as you quite rightly mentioned, international breaks, there are too many of them, as far as I'm concerned, too many.
Well, I mean, one solution is for the teams to do better in Europe, puts the country coefficient up, which means the qualifiers start later for teams. So they get a bit more of a break.
Yeah, okay. But that's a very difficult solution given the quality of our teams. That's the problem. You've seen how many qualifying games that they're going to have to go through.
Yeah.
But again, we could go on all day about this. I just don't know where the Cypriot FA could have moved these games. Because as I said, they couldn't. So if there was a break for the World Cup and they did resume, say, on the 22nd of December, what about the 4 games? Where would they have put them? So
Well,
yeah,
I mean,
you'd
you
still have
would.
players complaining. You'd still have players complaining that there are too many games because they'd be sandwiching them in between other game days. So one Saturday, then a Wednesday, and then a Sunday. It's a difficult one. It's a very difficult one. So I guess it just goes back to what you said about reducing the teams in the league. But again, where does it stop?
Yep, pretty much. I mean, the other thing is as well, it's not like the World Cup was dropped on the Cyprus FA like in August this year, so they had to rearrange things to try and organize themselves to sort it out.
Yeah.
They decided
But how
to
many?
increase. They decided to increase the league to 14 teams.
Yeah. But the thing is, how many APOEL players were actually on World Cup duty?
None of them.
None of them.
Yeah.
So it's not as
Yeah,
if they had players.
the only two from Kipro were Name for Senegal and
And Salifad.
Ansarifad for Monia.
Yeah. So only two teams suffered because of the World Cup, having
Yep.
lost players. So it's not as if APOEL had players out and they weren't able to call upon them. So again, it's one of those I see his point, however, situations.
Yeah. No, it's a very good point to make. You could argue, I mean, there's conversations happening all over the world at the moment. They're talking in the Premier League. They're saying there's too many games, too many, just too many games going on. We've got League Cup, FA Cup, you've got Premier League, you've got Champions League. Especially these teams that are going further into the Champions League in the Premier League as well. So you've got a lot of that happening. There's the same argument in Spain. Again, they've got two. They've got two cups, the league, European competitions. You've got obviously the other argument in Cyprus is the teams don't have the budget to have the same quality
Depth.
players. Yeah, there's the same depth that you would have in a Premier League team, for instance. Like if we have a look at the top of the table in the Premier League, so Man City, they've got 2 or 3 players of the same quality in every position. You kind of look across those bigger leagues and you see that. Whereas in Gibro, there's not the finances in place to be able to do that.
No.
Aris are trying really hard for that, obviously, but there's still some issues to iron out.
Of course. Oh well. Anyway,
Yeah.
I think this is a conversation that could last for, and I think we need to get more people on that can give us their thoughts and opinions on it, because I think we just need a show just for that. In all fairness, what to do with the league, the league table, and here it is. Aris lead the table, 71 points. APOEL second on 68. AEK third on 62 points. They're still in with a chance of Europa League, or should I say Conference League? Sorry, forget it, because we don't get Europa League anymore. We're not good enough to get Europa League. But at the bottom, it's just as interesting with Olympiacos on 27 points, Agreda on 29. It's going to be a dogfight between Doxa and Paralimni. There's only 1 point that separates them. So, Thassos, we know what's going to happen with the weekend. I'm guessing Omoni are going to roll over for Aris. Can you see APOEL beating Apollon and taking it to the final day of the season? And also, who do you think is going to drop into the second division now that we've seen the difference between Doxa and Paralimni?
Yeah, so I think, well, I mean, just for the story, you want APOEL to also win, don't you? That way, it really goes to that last game of the season, whether or not APOEL can beat Aris by 2 goals, because just the tension and the drama in that one last 90 minutes of the season, it's a story. It's you don't have many opportunities for a result like that in the season, do you? No. So I'm hoping for an APOEL win just based off of that. Now, there's also the interesting thing of who comes into that third place as well. So you've got AEK, Paphos and Apollon. Now, before this weekend, you'd think that the informed team at the moment is Apollon. So even though they're 3 points behind AEK with just the 2 games left, can they? There's a question as to whether or not they'll be able to go over AEK and Baffle. Watch this space. It'd be a very interesting one because if they need to beat APOEL to do that. So
yeah, they need to beat APOEL, and I think their final game, if I'm not mistaken, is Baffle. Is it Baffle?
Tasty.
Yeah. Whereas AEK face who've they got next?
Well, wouldn't it be Omonia last game of the season?
Yeah, they've got Omonia final game, yeah. And if we win the cup, I'm pretty sure we'll be in party mode and feet up and all that. So again, lots of ifs and buts. But as for the bottom, mate,
still 3 games left. Still 3 games left for all the teams. So in theory, Olympiacos are 8 points off Doxa. So in theory, they still have a mathematical chance to make it. Based off of current form, they're down.
Yeah.
And it's not even close. I mean, look at that. Look, they don't deserve to stay up. Sorry, Joel, because obviously, we're good friends with Joel Mal, but I mean, look, 5 wins all season.
Yeah,
it's not good. It's not good reading.
And the fact that Agrida are above them now, the team that's conceded 70 goals this season. I mean,
it's unbelievable, isn't it?
70.
Yeah.
I shouldn't laugh, but my God.
But again, they've got 6 points to make up and 9 points to play for. So I keep going for that meme, not that meme, that GIF of in Game of Thrones, where the sword teacher is going to saying to, what do we say to the god of death, and then what's her name, the Stark daughter goes, not today. And you're like, and it's basically Agridas. They're like touching on the heartstrings. Except the last 2 games they've played Castellani instead of Onodi. That's annoying. But apart from that, they're trying. Bless them, they are trying. But really, I think it's just bad. It's between Paralimni and Doxa. Now, but Paralimni again, they're the informed team. But I probably put Doxa staying up.
Okay. Even well, I was going to say even due to their fixtures, but to be honest, as I mentioned earlier, it's the Anorthosi that it's Anorthosi Paralimni game that for me will put the nail in the coffin for them. But it's going to go all the way. It's going to go all the way, and they have a better goal difference.
Do you want wood?
Yeah, do you want wood?
Yeah.
All right. So that's it for the Group A. Let's move on to some other things, shall we? The Players Football Awards, the Players Union got together and they made their votes for the nominees, Player of the Season. I always like this one because you always get a few curveballs. So let's start with the goalkeepers, shall we? Let's start with the goalkeepers. And as you can see, you've got Vanna Alves. You've got you've got the APOEL goalkeeper.
Yeah,
oh, my goodness. Belic. Yeah, Piric is there. And also our good friend.
Yeah, Alexander Jovanovic.
Jovanovic. Now, if you'd have asked me December, who would you pick? I'd have said Piric. 100%.
Yeah. I think that's why he's been included in this list, I think.
Yeah. But I can't say anyone other. I'm sorry to say this, man, Jovanovic, because I love you, bro. But I think Vanna Alves has been fantastic majority of the season. And to be fair, he was my vote for #1 goalkeeper last season, purely because it was his first season in Cyprus. But Jovanovic deserved it. I'm not going to argue with that. But I think this season, it has to go to Vanna. What do you think?
Yeah. I think it's going to be how do I put this delicately? I'm not going to put it delicately. Vanna Alves has a better defense in front of him as well.
Yeah.
Jovanovic has done a fantastic job compared to the the people in front of him. So I think it's very, very tight. You've got to think as well that I think it's the players that are voting for who are the best players as well. So, but I think it's going to be a difficult one between Jovanovic and Alves. I don't think Piric has only been included in there because of obviously his great performances in the league before December and his performances in Europe as well have been really good. Belic has been put there because he saved a penalty twice. No,
That's a bit
to be fair,
mean.
to be fair, he has put in some good performances. He's put in some dodgy performances as well. I think it's been a medium season. For a team like APOEL, they probably prefer a goalkeeper to be performing a bit better than he has. Saying again, he's done well enough. He's done well enough, and when he's been needed the most, for instance, those penalty saves, he has come up trumps for him.
Yeah, but then again, I'm surprised that Muriel isn't even on that list, because I know IL have fallen into Group B, but again, same with Belic, his defense has been good. Van Alven's defense has been good, but I think Muriel has been brilliant, even with a backline that's been leaking goals in Group B anyway. But remember, they had a fantastic clean sheet record a few months ago.
Yeah, and and like you said, Muriel is a very important part of that. But yeah, I think so. Jovanovic and Alves are there on merit through the whole season. Piric is there because of the European form he had, and Belic has been there obviously because of. I think it's mostly because of that headline grabbing. He saved the 2 penalties. He got into a FIFA Team of the Week kind of thing. So they had to include him in there.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to the defense. And interesting ones. Angel Garcia of AEK, Eric Boaki of Aris, Godzo Ekbolo. Didn't he join them in January?
He did,
Milicevic of AEK, Ikoko, Bafo, Crespo, APOEL, Kvida, Bafo, Suzic, APOEL, Tomovic, AEK, Iago, Aris, Roberge, Apollon, Sergiu Salamina, that's a good one to have in there. And Bilea, another fantastic player for this season. So I think most of them are deserved. I think Ekbolo, perhaps I wouldn't have put in there because he hasn't been in the league long enough. What do you think, mate? Would you pick someone else instead of Ekbolo?
I'm just cycling through a list to just maybe I don't know. Maybe if you wanted like a shock one, you might put Avoni in there as well. Maybe.
Yes.
I'm just going through the list. I want to put any Omonia defenders in.
No. That would be crazy.
But yeah, no, I think most of those are deserved that are in there. And maybe
you wouldn't be tempted to put Aden in there, no?
Oh, Aden, no, bless him. Oh, I mean, he's going to be in the record books for all the wrong reasons, isn't he? But definitely the. But I think I can guess the top 4. I want to see if you agree with me. But it'll be Bileas, Susic, Ikoko, and I think it's either between Kvida or Boyaki.
Oh, okay.
What do you think?
Well, in terms of the actual back line that they're going to go for at the end of the season, team of the season? I don't know, man. I'd definitely say Bilea, 100%. I think he's been fantastic. Suzic, yes. He scored some important goals this season, for sure. It's difficult. I think Crespo will get in there. Because he's had a good season. And for the 4th one...
See, it's difficult because they've all had pretty good seasons. The only one really that I think kind of has dropped off again, it's the AEK back line.
Yeah.
Milicevic and Tomovic, once the playoffs have started, seem to have dropped off in form.
Yeah. Do you know what? I'm going to give it Iago. I'm going to give it Iago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give it Iago. For sure. For sure. Okay, on to the next one. And we have, where is it, Stel? Come on, you've got it right in front of you. Why don't you just click it up? Here we go. Here we go, Stel. Bravo. So, right, so we got Bashiru, my guy Bash, Gus Ledes of AEK, Zoke at Aris, Sarfo APOEL, Gane, Bafo, Morgan Brown, Aris, our guy, Dragomir at Bafo, Giriago, Hambos at Apollon, who's going through a renaissance now.
That's a strange one, if you ask me, but yeah, go on.
And Hambos of Omonia. Now we got to choose. Do we choose 4 or do we choose 2? Because there's loads of forwards.
Yeah,
So
I don't know how they've worked this out. Like they've just gone for central midfielders and just left it like that. And then we pick 4 out of the strikers. I think that's what they're going for here.
Yeah. Okay. So it's like 4-2-4.
Well, yeah, but I'm guessing they're counting the wingers as strikers.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So who do you think the 2 will be? I think one of them is nailed on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know which one you've nailed on.
Go on.
Is Bash, isn't it?
No.
No, you're not. You're not going to be.
Listen,
You're not going to be biased.
No, I'm gonna be honest. Look, he's been by far one of our best players this season. I think him and Matthews have been sensational. But
I think it's
Sarfo is the
Sarfo.
nailed on. I think Sarfo is the nailed on one. He's been brilliant this season. And we were talking about him last week about how his form has dipped because he's tired. But I tell you what, like
last game, he picked it up last game. Actually, it was really good performance from him.
And the thing is, you rarely see a bad performance from him. Like him and Bash, they're the 2 players that if they drop anything less than a 7 out of 10, you think they're either injured or they're knackered.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then again, I really rate Gus Ledes. I really rate him. But to be honest, all of those players I like. Okay, Dragomir, I wouldn't have put him in there myself. But okay, I think he deserves to be there given his change in form. But Zoke has been brilliant for Aris. We spoke about him a few weeks ago, like the importance of him. He scored that goal against Apollon, but he's been important. Morgan, bias aside, he's been brilliant for them. Nam, brilliant. Humble, both of them. Right, Humble, Apollon. Since the turn of the year.
Yeah, I think that's what. He only started playing. He only started playing for him again as soon as Andone came back. Came back. Andone started managing. So I don't know if you include him in there. They kind of I think they've got him in there for end of season stuff and maybe to have like a few more Gibreus.
Yeah, possibly.
But yeah, I think I'm agreeing with you.
I'm surprised Kostadinov isn't there. To be honest, I'm surprised he's not in there.
I think it's the same thing. Injuries. He's only played maybe half the games this season.
Yeah, I get that. All right.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, let's go to the forwards then. It's about sport for choice. This is what I like though, because at least we're sport for choice when it comes to the forwards. And wow. Crikey, where do we begin? Grushko, AEK, Gogorin, Aris, Gvilitaya, APOEL, Faraj, AEK, Zairo, Bafo, Ansari Fado, Monia, Bengtsson, Aris. Why is he put as a forward? I swear as an attacking midfielder. Valakari, the same. Babika, Gomis, Aris, Gaguli, Omonia, Bitta, Apollon, Loizu, Omonia, and Gavril Agrida. Now, that's an interesting one.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one. But again, I guess, they've had they've had a bad season, Agrida, but there's been some standout players. And I think Eraso should be there if you're going to put Gavril there. But again, as you said, you need Gibrey, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I think that rhetoric.
Yeah. I think that's why he's there. I think Gushko shouldn't be there either because he's been injured for half the season.
Yeah. But then again, he started the season really well. So
he did.
You know what? If you asked me to pick 4, I couldn't do it. I really couldn't do it. I couldn't because I couldn't leave out Gogorin. I couldn't leave out Faraj. Faraj has been sensational. Gomis and Babi, I mean, they're brilliant. Bitta, you cannot not put him in. Zyro, you can't not put him in. It's horrible. I'd hate to be the decision maker, honestly. And people are going to be arguing. But the good thing is, at least they're going to be arguing for something proper and nothing asinine. Do you get what I'm saying? It's a scary list of names.
Yep. Yeah. We've been spoiled for choice this year.
Yep.
Definitely.
I'm not going to be unfair and ask you if you have your 4.
I mean, you could do.
You got your 4.
I don't know if I've got. I'm gonna think it out live. So let's see. So you gotta have Gyro and Bittas for sure, because those two the ones that scored the most goals. After that, I'm just trying to pick one from Aris, because obviously they've been that strike force is fucking scary. So I'd probably go for Gogorin, and then that leaves one place, and I'd probably stick Farage in there. Oh, there you go. I did it. There you go.
You're gonna put the gun to my head now, aren't you?
Well, yeah. I mean, you know, it's like it's like at the end of The Good and the Bad and the Ugly, where they're pointing guns at each other. Yeah. So.
All right. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. Just to be a football snob, right? I'm gonna go for a balanced team, right? I'm not gonna go for I'm gonna go for the balanced team, right? So my wide men are gonna be Farage, because I love the guy. I just think he's a top player. He's too good for Cyprus. I'm sorry. I'm gonna go for Farage on the left, and I'm going to put Babika on the right, purely for consistency. It's difficult for me to pick him or Gomis. It's difficult because I love Gomis as well. But I think Babika just edges it. So that my number 10, do you know what? I'm going to put Bita there. I'm going to put Bita as the 10. Obviously, it's like a support striker, because, look, I didn't expect him to have such a good season. I mean, I knew he was good. But let's get it right. This guy effectively was a left winger 2 years ago, and now he's one of the most clinical strikers in the league. So his work rate, his efforts, and the type of goals that he scores, we're not just talking about tap-ins here. The guy can head the ball. He's got his great left foot. The one-on-one situations, he's been brilliant. So he's going to be in my number 10. And my centre forward, I'm going to put Jairo. I'm going to put him up front. It pains me to leave out Gogorin, because he's been immense. It pains me to not even put Grushko, because I think Grushko's been brilliant. But I think in terms of consistency, in terms of what they bring to the team, and my system, of course, that's my 4 forwards.
Okay, but I mean, without these options in place, does that change your team of the year? I mean,
let me think.
So goalkeeper, for instance, would you pick a different goalkeeper to the 4 of the choices?
No, I'd pick Vanna.
Yeah.
For sure.
In defense, would you pick 4 others than the ones that are already shown?
Who are my 4 now? I forgot my 4 defenders. I went for Yago, Crespo,
Susic,
and Bilea. This is difficult.
What I'm saying is, would you pick somebody that hasn't been picked?
But this is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm thinking, because I can't, off the top of my head, I can't think of anyone else apart from those I mean, look, I love Steve Yago, but he'd probably be the one out of the 4 that I would take out. I wouldn't remove Bilea, because Bilea's been sensational. Susic, fantastic, albeit he's had injuries, but as I said, he scored some important goals, important assists this season. I think he's been very, very important to APOEL. And obviously they miss him when he's out, because Shebak isn't anywhere near as good, no disrespect. Crespo, leader, captain, experience, he knows the dark arts. APOEL obviously improved defensively since he's joined. So again, he goes in. Again, Steve Yago, he's the one I'll take about. In terms of who would I put in, it's difficult for me to say, man. It's very difficult.
Yeah,
It's very difficult.
it is, isn't it?
I,
When you've got all your options laid out like that, they're kind of the ones that you might have been thinking that were a bit left field kind of go out the window.
it's
It's
tough.
like,
Like even top six, who would I put in? I don't know. I don't
okay,
know.
I've got another question for you there. Then, so you've got, so they've put Hambo, they've put Loizo, they've put Ansari Fad, and they've put Gaguli.
Yeah.
Right? Would you have any of other Omonia players in there or not?
For his form since Sofroni has come in, certainly Panayodu, certainly him. For the start he had to the season, especially when Yannick came in, I'd say Gidso.
Okay.
Matthews as well. Matthews is a name I'm surprised that wasn't there. Aside from that, no one really. No.
What about Fabiano?
Well, see, this is it. Because of the season that he's had in terms of injuries, because don't forget he had a pretty big injury at the beginning of the season that put him
Yeah.
out for a couple months. He had that chest injury.
Mm-hmm.
If he'd have played, it may have made a difference. So I think because he was out for a sustained period, then I think he had a couple of other injuries. He hasn't been ever present this season. He's missed a lot of games, Fabi. He's missed a lot of games. So I can't put him in based on that. I mean, I can't put him in based on his performance against Buffalo. That wouldn't be fair on the other three goalkeepers that are on that list.
Yeah.
So just for this season and the injuries, that the timeout that he's had, and obviously the dip in form, I wouldn't put him there. But I still think he is the best in the league. I personally believe. But again, you can call it bias, granted, and I'll take that on the chin for sure. But I think Vanna Alves has been the standout goalkeeper for me. You know, what about you? What would you change if you could?
See, that's what the reason I asked you those questions was because I was trying to think of a name that might be missing on there, that's not on there, and there's one that just popped into my head.
Chibola?
No.
Is it Group A?
No.
Group B?
Yeah.
Let me think. Guerrero?
No. Doregaray is not on there.
Ah, yes.
And he's what, third top goal scorer in the league?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
he's
that's
been.
a good point.
It's not like he's okay. He didn't start off the season great, but as the season's gone on, he's been fantastic.
Yeah, that's a point. That's a
And
fair point.
see, it's weird having this list in front of you because I would have had Doregaray somewhere there or thereabouts, but his name completely dropped out of my head because he wasn't on there. But yeah.
What I will say though, I think it's easier to remove players from that list.
Yeah, than to add. Yeah, exactly.
Look, with the goalkeepers. Okay, I'm not going to argue with that. I'm not going to argue with the goalkeepers. All right, but defenders, I think Ekbola would go out for me.
Yeah,
I think he'd be the main one that goes out. Midfield,
Bashor
Humbo.
Yeah.
Bashor Humbo. Again, what about Gane? He's had a good season.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think he's had a good season. Who else? We mentioned Kostadinov. He's had a good season, all right, albeit injuries, whatever. Who else? Even Chibola, you could argue, until he picked up his injury, he was sensational for APOEL.
Yeah.
So again, I think it's easier to remove the players than to put them in. Gaguli, I can see why Gaguli is in there because he scored a very good amount of goals this season. Loizu, a bit on the fence with that one, to be fair, because he's been hit, miss, or maybe this season. He didn't start off well. In fact, he wasn't even in the squad for a few weeks because of a contractual issue or dispute with the club. So he hasn't been consistent. Even Kvilitaya, you could argue, why is he there? Now you could argue why he is there, but at the same time, he hasn't been that goal scorer that you'd expect from him. So again, and obviously Gabriel,
Cypriot quota.
we don't speak. We don't speak about this.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah.
Is there anything else that we need to touch on before we end? Because we've done pretty well for time. Actually, we haven't gone for 2 hours. We've done 1 hour and 24, which is pretty decent for us.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just going through news.
The only thing I can think of is maybe like second division, where there was the rumor about Alki returning from the dead and amalgamating with Ormidia again.
Nah, yeah. So there was like you said, there was the rumor that was going around, but then the Ormidia, the club, actually came out a couple of days ago on their Facebook page to refute those rumors, to say that ain't happening, boy. Nah, not here. But never say never. I think there was, obviously, because Hermes kind of on their last legs, as I think you mentioned talks of maybe there being a merger, which there's no love lost between those two teams. But again, there wasn't any love lost between EPA and Bezoborigos, and they became AEK. So
yeah.
So we'll see how.
Well, actually, there is one story, and to be honest, I'm trying to find it online because I saw it the other day, and I forget which bloody website it was on. But there was a report that Peyia, their new head coach, you heard about this one?
No.
Right. There's a rumor going around. Again, I need to find the website because I saw it on Twitter and I clicked into it and I didn't save the bloody link and I needed to put it. So, according to one website, so apologies for not quoting you or giving you the credit you deserve. According to one website, the new Peyia head coach, Peyia, a team from Buffer, second division, Jason Puncheon.
Interesting.
That's the rumor. I need to find the link though, just to back it up. But when I do, I'll send it over to you for sure.
Yes, please do. That's a very interesting one.
But that's a
very interesting one, isn't it?
And to be honest, it does make sense. And I'll tell you why, because I know Jason was doing his coaching badges for while he's been out in Cyprus, he's been doing them. And obviously he's without a club. He's looking to get into coaching, management, etc., or even be a player coach. I don't know. But Peyia obviously linked with FC Buffer. In fact, Buffer are going to be using Peyia Stadium next season, aren't they?
Yep. Yeah, well, so, I mean, that's one of the options that they're discussing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's that possibility. But yeah, it makes sense because obviously Jason has still got his links with Buffer. Got a good relationship with them. I'm racking my brain in to remember which website I found it on, man. Honestly, it's doing my head in now.
While you're doing that, I'll just run through some very quick ones.
Yeah, you do that. You do that.
So we talked about Poursa leaving Nea Salamina. Obviously, that then means they don't need to worry about his massive wages cutting a hole in their budget. So now they've started talking to the players to extend their contracts. So they've so Miguelito and Carlitos have extended their contracts at Nea Salamina. They've been very important to them for that big run of form that they've had over this season. So that's very good news for them. Some good news for Aris is that there's even more rumours of him staying next season, and this is according to Gerkida, that he's staying next season at Anorthosis because apparently team insiders believe his performances will improve if he's surrounded by better players. Now, to be fair to absolutely everyone, that would be the case with any footballer. No? If you're surrounded by better players, it will make you better as well. Anyway,
well, yeah.
I'll leave that. I'll leave that there. Let's see what else. That's it. I think we covered everything else.
Yeah, that's it, mate. That's
quite
it. But I'm struggling to find this flipping website. I'm struggling to find it. Is it?
Hey, it's us. We're saying we're starting the rumor. It's us.
No, I need to find it. I need to find it because it's doing my head in. I've just checked Get Gida. It's not Get Gida. Let me check Super Sport.
If I find it before you, are you going to be annoyed?
No, I won't be annoyed. I won't be annoyed.
Oh, then I'm not.
I'll
I'm going
be
to stop looking.
okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, viewers. I'm sorry, listeners. I can't find it. I can't find it. But yeah, that was the rumor. When I find it, do you know what I'm going to find it? I'm going to send it to you. I'll be like fucking up. But yeah, so that was the rumor. I don't know anything about it personally. But look out, I guess. Watch the space. So there you go. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we need to discuss.
Enough policies who's changed their badge. There you go. They did a weird.
Yeah.
They did a weird. You can bring this in post if you want, but they did a weird kind of like Terminator kind of future time travel blob thing, where they started off with their old badge, and then the blob appears, and then the new badge comes up. And to tell you the truth, they didn't change much. But yeah, it's on my, hold on, because it's all mirrored. It's on my it's on my Twitter. If you want to look for it, it's at Flares Cafes on Twitter.
Okay. Oh, one minute. I think I may have found it. Let me just go into the website. It was Super Sport. It is. Hang about. Where is it? Come on. It was dated the 9th of May. So I'm gonna have to go and find it very, very quickly. Where is it? Come here. 9th of May. Come on, Stel. You can do this. Ebomini. Next page. They fill the pages up with so much bloody crap. Oh, for crying out. Honestly, you're looking at the headlines. It's like, what is this? No one needs to know about this. Well, what are you doing, Super Sport? Here we go. Right. So, drum roll, please. Share screen. There we go. Jason Puncheon. There you go. And I'm gonna shall I translate it? Let me go to Google Translate. Here we go. Jason Puncheon is preparing to go into coaching, and it's possible that the first team he takes over will be from our parts, as in not our private parts, but our parts as in Cyprus. Peyia 2014 seems to include him in his list. There you go.
Yep. Exactly.
There you go. I wasn't bullshitting. It was there. Thank you for being patient with me, Thassos.
Oh, it's all right. I've got nowhere else to be.
Crikey. Well, it is 20 to midnight in Cyprus now. So, yeah, that's it. I don't blame you. But, boys and girls, before we wrap it up, I am hoping, because I just need to get confirmation, that tomorrow I'll be recording a podcast with Emeka. Now, for those of you who don't know, Emeka is a very big YouTuber. And what he does, he just goes abroad to various countries and does video blogs. Let me find it. American Soccer Fan. I need to find the name of the website. I'm really ill prepared. Here we go. It's called Emeka Reacts. So I'm hoping to get Mr. Reacts on tomorrow's podcast to talk about Cypriot football, because as far as I understand, he will be going to APOEL against Aris on the final day of the season. And this is his site. As you can see, he's got a lot of subscribers, a lot of views. He went to Hammarby. He went to Feyenoord when they won the league title, Your Gardens. And he's done other reviews as well. So hopefully we'll get him on. Tomorrow's pod, and that will be released soon.
Sadly, I'm taking my son to the zoo, so...
I don't blame you. It's Cyprus. So, yeah. Anyway.
I had to bring him to Cyprus for him to see some elephants. Normal stuff.
That's all right. There might be Cypriot elephants. They might be very welcoming. They might.
Oh yeah. I mean, they'll all be Kelliers like us, and one of them will be called Bedri.
And the Greek goodbye will be brilliant. You're not going anywhere. You can't go through the door. You go.
Well, I won't be. If it tells me to not go anywhere, I'm going to listen to it.
Oh, well, you're going to be talking about. You're sounding like you're beginning to become that meme. You know, don't go anywhere. Have you seen that one? The guy gets hit by the bike. Why are you coming fast? You haven't seen it.
Yes. No, I have
Yeah.
seen it.
He goes, don't go
I've seen that
anywhere.
one. I've seen
Look
that
at my
one. Yeah.
head. Is it bleeding? Anyway, you can find us on Twitter and on Instagram at This Is Mappa. Thasso is on Flares
Flares
Cafes.
Cafes.
There you
We've
go.
got the Facebook. We've got the Discord.
Discord, yes.
We've got all those businesses.
Absolutely. And thank you once again to the Fine Harvest for sponsoring us. And if anyone would like to sponsor this pod, we're actually giving people the opportunity to sponsor this pod for free. So if you have a business or anything that you want to promote, get in touch with us, and we are more than happy to put your logo, as you can see right here.
It's mirrored. There you go.
I'll get the hang of it one day. So until next time, boys and girls, we'll see you very, very soon.